There's one thing that's been around since the dawn of humanity that I'm sure we're all guilty of at some point in our lives. No matter who you are or how good of a person you came to be, we've all experienced a little bit of greed in our lives. And in this case, I'm talking about money. And what better place to make money than the video game industry, which is worth more than the music and film industry combined and doubled. Wait, is that right? Yeah. Oh my god. When a developer creates a game that is great and becomes very popular, of course this comes with a lot of money, which in turn makes a lot of the time less creative developers to try and piggyback off its success and create their own clone from a successful formula.
He's walking, man. Left hand, right hand, okay, I guess.
Some are actually good and can almost stand on their own 2 feet as an individual franchise, whereas some others are not so amazing. And these clones have existed ever since the beginning of video games, as where there's money's been made, there will always be those who are greedy. I'll stop with the philosophical stuff now. But I wanted to go back and explore some of the clones of the big game franchises, especially in the mobile gaming space, where, spoiler alert, there are a shit ton. But also some of the very small, really shit ones that are so terrible, barely anyone has ever even heard of them. It's definitely fair to say that I found quite a few. Also, please like and subscribe if you like my content, and if not, then have a nice life. Let's start off with the game franchise that I'm sure you've all heard of, Grand Theft Auto. Rockstar's prized possession and one of the most successful game franchises ever created, with the next game probably never coming out, judging by the political and economic state of the world right now. But nevertheless, it caused some actually quite good clones to be released. GTA is well known for its detailed, open world and cinematic storytelling, and some of its clones took this and added their own special flavour to it. Saints Row is considered the most popular GTA clone, and is actually a game that I loved growing up and I've already done a video on. Now, Saints Row took the GTA formula and added an absurd and more comedic twist to it, making for a very fun experience, I do have to say. But then again, I am a bit biased. Another notable mention has got to be Sleeping Dogs, which put more of a focus on melee combat and martial arts instead of guns, and takes place in Hong Kong, which sets it apart from GTA and other clones, which mainly take place in cities based off places such as New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. But of course, there's always a flip side to the game clone coin, with some games that completely failed and are sent to the depths of the internet, hopefully to be forgotten forever. Titles such as Streatham Hill Stories, one of the lesser known GTA clones that's set in London and tries to lean into a British urban atmosphere with more local and culturally specific ideas, which, to be fair, is an interesting concept and does make it stand apart from GTA and the other clones a little bit. However, this is greatly overshadowed by how buggy the game is, making it almost unplayable. And considering the game came out in 2020, the graphics don't really hold up that well. The story is very flat and the mechanics are, well, they're kind of there, I guess. But this was only made by one person, so you wouldn't expect them to be able to make a AAA game. And if you looked at it as a so bad it's funny kind of game, then you might actually have some fun playing it. I'm sure Minecraft needs no introduction. I think it's one of the few games where literally anyone at any age could play it and still have a great time. And I'm sure you're not surprised to hear that there are many, many clones of this game. A lot of which came out quite a few years ago, near the official release of Minecraft in 2011. Jesus, that's a long time ago. And makes it even more surprising that Minecraft is still one of the most played games to date. And one of the ones I remember playing when I was younger on my iPod Touch is Survival Craft, which takes a more hardcore survival approach compared to Minecraft, and also includes features such as having to regulate your temperature, animal domestication, and even electricity mechanics, which makes it a lot more advanced than just a shitty little Minecraft clone. One aspect I remember personally is the amount of mobs that Survival Craft had, and being able to spawn in werewolves and then hiding from my life. The game was developed by Candy Rufus Games and was released the same year as Minecraft, and even went on to get a sequel because it became that popular. A lot of its success was due to it being released on mobile devices where many other Minecraft clones hadn't gone yet, which is probably the main reason why you remember it, as you had to pay for Minecraft Pocket Edition, which many parents, like mine, laughed at when I told them. As I said before, there are many other Minecraft clones, but one of the ones that I found which was really cool was Castle Miner Z, or Z for you Americans, which was originally on the Xbox 360 and is basically Minecraft with guns. You can mine resources and craft stuff, but you also get access to a wide range of weapons, of which you can shoot zombies with, but these zombies are very different to the ones in Minecraft, as they're much more realistic and scary, and this game is pretty much a horror version of the original game, now that I think about it, especially at night time. Luckily there is multiplayer though, so you can experience this fear with your friends, and there's actually a lot of progression, making it very replayable. Overall, I would say that the clones that Minecraft created are actually very good, but I think that's inevitable when there's such a big list of them, and this definitely doesn't apply to every game. Now it's time to move on to some mobile games. Clash of Clans. Actually not the most downloaded mobile game, which is what I thought. It's actually Subway Surfers with 3 billion downloads, but it's up there with 500 million downloads and some noteworthy clones to go with that. Clash of Clans is nearly 14 years old now and has kept up very well each year, bringing out new updates and keeping players addicted whilst also making a shit ton of money. Supercell did a great job at making a highly addictive and replayable gameplay style with an easy way to add in some in-game buyable features due to how fucking long it took to literally upgrade anything. However, games such as Era of War, a Clash of Clans clone that came out in 2022, hasn't really done as well. I mean, I think this is probably the most blatant clone we've seen so far, even having characters that are pretty much exactly the same as the ones in Clash of Clans, but just weird looking. It follows the exact same gameplay style, and even the logo is just a copy of the one on Clash of Clans. Therefore, this game gets the award for least creative in terms of new ideas. There's also games such as Clash of Lords, Castle Clash, Clash. There's a lot of clashing going on with these clones, and they're basically all the same game, just reskinned. But somehow these games actually have some sort of player base, which I really don't get. Surely you would just play Clash of Clans if you're looking for a game with this type of gameplay. I don't know. Let me know if you actually play any of these games and don't actually play Clash of Clans. Now, we can't really talk about video game clones without mentioning the behemoth Call of Duty. This franchise has easily over 50 to 100 clones, and even more games that it heavily inspired. It was mainly Modern Warfare that started off the fast-paced gunplay, as well as the iconic game mechanics and progression-based multiplayer, which made pretty much everyone fall in love with it, well, most players.
Spawn die, spawn die, spawn die, spawn die, spawn die, spawn die!
And after this, pretty much every shooter used the game as a blueprint to keep tracing over. But this kind of makes it hard to identify all of the COD clones, as pretty much every single first-person shooter made after COD 4 has at least some resemblance to the franchise. And the first one I'm going to talk about is one that's very close to my heart, and therefore I will not tolerate any hate for, and that is Gotham City Imposters. Now, I'd be quite surprised if many of you have even heard of this game, as it feels like almost a fever dream, as the game was only popular for a few years, and now you can't even play it because there are no players to be able to even get into a multiplayer match. In fact, the only reason I ever found out about this game in the first place is because it was on a leaflet on an old 360 disc case that I had. The basic premise is that there are some imposters that dress up like Batman and Joker when Batman goes away, and they shoot each other in some sort of gang war. Yes, a very weird but interesting and unique take on the first-person shooter genre, and I absolutely loved it. It's comedic and manic, which is very different compared to the other Batman games that are out there. But if there's one thing I want out of this video, it's for this game to be reborn, which probably isn't going to happen, seeing as it has now been taken off Steam completely, so you can only play it if you bought the game previously, and I doubt a lot of people are going to be cracking out their Xbox 360 to go and play it. I've already talked about Minecraft, but what if it and COD merged together to have a clone of both? Well, that is basically Pixel Gun 3D. Now, Pixel Gun 3D may not look like a COD clone straight away due to its blocky graphics, but the fast gameplay and weapons take heavy inspiration from the franchise, and it may not be a traditional military shooter and is childlike compared to COD, but it does have a lot of things like quick respawns, custom loadouts, and game modes that are practically the same, such as deathmatch and flag capture, and I do think this is a really good example of how far the COD gameplay style can stretch. I'm sure if you grew up with mobile phones, you would have definitely played this game at some point, as for a decade it was exclusively on iOS and Android before being brought to Steam in 2024. And this is probably what contributed to a lot of its success, as mobiles are way more accessible to the average person, and of course kids, who will consume and spend their parents' money on anything. The game still has some active player base, but a lot of it is bots, and it has already become pretty much pay to win, which, to be fair, can be said for most mobile games nowadays. Now, I was a bit conflicted when researching for this game, because there are so many Battle Royale developments that have come out in the past 10 to 15 years. Fortnite could technically be seen as a game that copies the formula of PUBG, which copied the formula of H1Z1, which copied the formula of DayZ, which copied the formula of Minecraft Hunger Games. I feel I may have just upset a lot of people. But seeing as Fortnite is the most popular, mainly due to it being free to play on its release, and there being many Fortnite clones, I'll do that one. The closest game that literally just copied Fortnite, so much in fact that Epic Games actually had to step in and get it taken down, is Fortcraft. Even the name is unimaginatively copying. This was released in 2018 during the peak of Fortnite's explosion and unapologetically imitated everything about the original game. There are 100 players in a large battle royale map who scavenge for weapons and materials to be able to build when fighting other players. Even the style was pretty much identical, with bright and cartoony characters and map designs which almost looked like you were playing Fortnite with graphic settings and with your eyes squinted. Unsurprisingly, the game was sued and shut down very soon after its release, and now remains a forgotten example of when greed meets zero talent. Another clone is, surprise surprise, a game that brings Minecraft and the Battle Royale genre together. This is really a PUBG clone, but I'm going to put it here anyway, as it is still a Battle Royale knockoff. And that is Pixel's Unknown Battleground. Yeah, the name has no shame. As you can expect, this follows the normal Battle Royale formula. You're put into a large pixel map with other players and collect weapons and gear to defeat them. But this one looks like Minecraft, so that's cool. Not really anything else to add or anything that makes it unique, but hey, Minecraft, right? Let me know if you played any of these clones before and what your opinions are of them. Like I said, I have played a few before and actually loved them, but some of them probably aren't even worth playing in the first place. But I think this video does show how greedy some developers can be. Some, not all. But then again, I do get that there are only so many ways you can make a game, and when there are so many genres of games, with so many different developers out there, most of them are bound to draw some inspiration or bear similarities to many of the large franchises, whether intentional or not. I think there are some major games that I haven't gone over, like some made by Nintendo, but I wasn't sure if they'd try and sue me into oblivion for mentioning one of their games and showing gameplay of it. I didn't really want to take that risk. You can call me a pussy, that's fine. But if there are any game clones that I have missed that you think should be included, you're welcome to shout at me in the comments.